All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Kelsey Bixler. I'm the marketing specialist here at Oman Systems. Thank you so much for joining us today. In this webinar, it's going to consist of a panel discussion between two of our Oman Systems Support Team members. We're going to be covering syncing FMP with your accounting system, what that process looks like, and some frequently asked questions that the team receives during this part of the implementation process. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to drop them in the questions box to the right of your screen. Also, be sure to stick around to the end of the webinar to earn 1 hour of continuing education credits. Let's get started. All right, to start out, we like to give a little bit of background about who we are at Oman Systems and our history. So, we've been serving the civil construction industry for over 135 years. We started as a contractor and worked on projects like the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline that you can see here, the, at the time, world's largest earth-filled dam in Oroville, California, and the expansion of the Panama Canal and projects like this around the world. In 1992, we moved over to the software side with the introduction of our estimating software, now called ProEstimate.net. We later introduced our Bid Tabs program and our FieldManagement Pro product suite that we will be touching on today. So that's a little bit about us. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panelists for today, James Ham and Josh Sarobi. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hey. Welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Why don't we give a little brief introduction for you guys?
Yeah, I'm James Ham. I'm our technical support manager here at Oman Systems, and I've been here about 9 years.
I'm Josh Sarobi. I'm a customer support rep, and then I also do some of the design work for the company. I'll be here about 3 years in June.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right, well, we can dive right in here. So to start out, I wanted to start like a little bit broad and just ask you guys, so when we're talking about syncing with an accounting system, what are we really talking about, and what does that process kind of look like for our customers?
Yeah, so for our customers, it looks like just our ability to read the data from the accounting system and then set some processes in place to pull that over into FMP Office for them quite smoothly.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So other than that, we have compiled some frequently asked questions that you guys have received during this implementation process. So I want to just dive right into those. The first batch having to do with syncing and things of that nature. So the first one I've got up is, what is the difference between syncing and processing payroll?
Yeah, so when we talk about syncing FMP with your accounting system, basically what that'll do is prevent you from having to maintain multiple systems at a time. So the accounting sync process is capable of collecting any newly added or modified data from your accounting system and then automatically importing that into our program, which would be FMP Office, and it'll update all of your other devices as well. So that's kind of the sync. So it'll read your data, bring in anything, and then the payroll process is a little different. So once you do all your checks and balances, what we do is we actually export a file, and then that's what imports all the payroll records back into your accounting system. So it works a little differently than the sync.
Okay, very cool. Thank you for that, James. So my next question I've got is, what are we capable of syncing from the accounting system?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we write statements specific to grab the information from the database on the accounting side. And all this is kind of included in the cost. So we write a statement specifically for your project level. What we'll do is we'll pull in the project ID, the project name, start and end date, address, things of that nature that are contained within the project level. We pull those in automatically. And then we have our cost code level to break down that information as well. So things like the cost code ID, description, any kind of plan quantity unit budget data, anything that makes up that cost code. We can target those fields in the accounting system and then pull them over on Sync as well to pre-populate within that area in our program. And the same would be for your employees and your equipment. For the employee level, we write a statement as well, and it'll target the ID for the employee, the name, first name, last name. If it has a phone number, email, we can pull that in as well. And also, if the user in the accounting system has emergency contact information, on Sync, we can pre-populate that into the field as well. As far as equipment goes, it's another line that we write, pull in the equipment information, the ID, the description, and then the status of both the employee and equipment. I want to mention that. So if it's inactive, we have the ability to set that on our end and respect that field when it comes in the F&P office.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. So the next question I've got, do I have to maintain my payroll data in my accounting system and in F&P? And I assume that means maintaining those separately.
Right. So ideally, once we get done with the processes and put everything in place, it's just a one-time entry on the accounting side. And so then within our program, it's literally 2 clicks, and then that current information that you've updated in the accounting system or added is in now an F&P office. So it's a one-time entry, no dual entry, no double entry whatsoever.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. Let's see what I've got next. What accounting systems does your system work with?
Yeah, so we work with a variety of different accounting systems. Kelsey, if you want to bring up Office, F&P Office, we'll take a look at that real quick. So I guess once we collect all the information from the customer, we determine what their needs are and what we can access from the accounting system. Like Josh was talking about, if there's additional information in there that we can actually utilize. So go to the accounting tab.
Gotcha. Pulling this up. Okay.
And then do the accounting export tab.
Okay.
And just drop down that select accounting system. So here's kind of a list of ones that we have built over time with other customers and what they're using. So essentially what we do is we find out what the accounting system needs as far as payroll records go, and then we can custom write all that stuff to export the data out, how that's necessary. But as far as the syncing goes, we have to actually access the server, hop into the database, and kind of review the data, and then we'll write code to grab anything that's relevant to it. But if you have an accounting system that you're unsure if we work with, feel free to reach out to us, give us a call, and we can take a look at your system to see what our capabilities are as far as integrating and all that good stuff. As far as I did want to mention one thing as far as QuickBooks bookkeeping system, we don't do an actual database sync with it, but we do actually have a payroll import utility that we reach out to as the third party. It's called Timesheet Link, where it can convert an IAF file and then you can import that into QuickBooks desktop version. Just want to throw that caveat out there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know some of our customers use that, but definitely good to know. Thank you, James. Minimize that. Awesome. All right, so what I've got next is how often will I need to sync?
Yeah, so ideally you want to sync when there's any additions to the accounting system. So if you update anything within the project level, employee level, or equipment level, just make it a common practice when you log into F&P Office every time just to hit sync. That way you're up to date, you're current on everything. You're never under the impression that it's not current. So it's always, we recommend good practice once everything's intact. Just click on the sync button, 2 clicks, and everything's up to date and good to go.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, next I've got, what are the steps for syncing with the company's accounting system?
Yeah, so when you purchase the product, we schedule what we call a kickoff call, and we get everyone involved within our side and your side. And then we kind of determine what your needs are, what systems that you currently have in place that we can work with. And then we can also put a time frame in place for expectations on when you want to get everything rolled out. We can discuss, what data our system can use, how the data will flow as far as the change and improvements to your company once you implement F&P. And then we also can get, on this kickoff call, we'll kind of determine the time frame as far as training goes, any additional needs that the customer would have. We can kind of get all that organized and plotted out.
Very cool. So I was wondering, do you have a set time frame for that or anything, or is it kind of just up to the customer?
Yeah, mainly it's up to the customer. From our end, we can get everything set up as quickly as they want. We have resources in place on our end to get you up and running as quickly as you would like. We have some customers that want to take their time, get everything, kind of rolled out slowly, make sure everything's going smooth over the course of a month or so. But, some other customers want it done in a couple of days, and we can do that as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Next one I've got. So how will I be able to sync the accounting system if I have a hosted solution?
Good question. So far, we've run into two companies that have hosted solutions that our customers are using. Foundation is one of them, and they have a direct API. So we actually wrote code to go reach out and collect the data from their API, and then we'll sync it in that way. The Vista and Viewpoint also has a hosted solution, and what we determined was needed for that is just setting up a VPN connection to that remote server. And then once the VPN connection is established, then we can communicate with the database and collect all the data. Also with the hosted solutions, if you have a hosted solution as well that's not one of those two that you're curious if we can work with, feel free to reach out to us and we'll kind of evaluate what all would be necessary to get that going.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so the next series of questions I've got up, they have to do more with exporting. So I think this will be a good topic to discuss as well. So how do we handle payroll?
Yeah, so within F&P Office, we have a few things in place for our users. On a project level, we have the ability to assign approvers for the job, and you can set that to be 1 up to 3 people. Basically, it's a project manager level, ideally, and then they go in, and from what's reported from the field, your foreman turn in their time card that contain employees and hours worked on the job. And so they can go through and approve this time to verify, one measure here in place to verify the time from the field is accurate. And the next measure we have is the master time card screen. And so within the master time card, you can allocate time or just further verify that what is there is accurate and ensure, successful payroll hours, right? And so what we do then is we work together with the customer to understand their needs as far as data goes and how the format of the structure and the data needs to be in their Excel file or their import routine. And so once we understand what that needs to look like, we'll work together, James and I, myself, the team in-house here, and we'll write up some statements to collect that data, project ID name, employee ID name, hours worked throughout the week, attached to the proper cost codes. So when it gets imported into the accounting system, it's then respected and pay is accurate and there's no need to worry about that. Time frame on that's relatively quickly, as James was saying earlier, we work with the user's needs. We can get that rolled out, half a day, less than that, depending on the user's availability. And then we just kind of like to work together to ensure that the user has success on import routine. It's not like a cut dry process. We want to work with you for a few times on import to make sure that you have success and that you're operational after the fact.
Nice. Yeah, that kind of sounds like that's the beauty of the program right there. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So the next question I've got is an interesting one. So how will you respect our regular time and overtime in payroll?
Good question. So it really depends on what the company's needs are as well. We do have system settings for overtime calculations to match what the customer overtime criteria are. The user does have the ability to transfer in regular and overtime hours if that's currently what they're doing from the mobile devices. Or, if they transfer in all straight time, you can handle the overtime allocation automatically in F&P Office. So once it's transmitted in, and you're going through all the checks and balances that Josh was talking about earlier, we do have things in place to where it makes it a lot easier that, if your criteria is over 40 hours a week and somebody got paid 45, there's a button you can click and it'll automatically take that 5 hours and dump it into the overtime as well. Or if, your accounting system decides to handle that automatically, we can export it all as straight time. We just have a lot of customization that we can do that fits the needs for the company themselves because everybody handles it a little bit differently. So we have a variety of ways that we can actually do it from our side.
Okay, great. Thank you. This next one's an interesting one as well. So how do you respect salary employees for payroll?
Salaried employees, so the majority of our customers just want them to turn in 40 hours a week. That's what we've kind of found out. If they are turning in their time from the mobile devices on F&P Mobile, then they just want them to be dead set at 40. If anything, we have mechanisms in F&P Office to notify you if you have a salaried individual, and let's say they got 39 hours, it'll highlight that whole record in there. Just another part of the checks and balances to make sure everybody has the right amount of hours before you actually start the payroll process from F&P Office. Yeah, so that's kind of how we handle salaried individuals.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, so next up, this one has to do with ProEstimate.net. So if I have ProEstimate.net, how does that fit with my accounting system and FMP?
Yeah, so this is a pretty neat process. So within ProEstimate.net, once you've been awarded the job, we have the ability to then export that data in a format that your accounting system will work with, an import routine. And we take that and we'll take it directly into the accounting system. And then the discussion that we had earlier about syncing and what we target and what we pull in, this is where after the job has been awarded and imported into the accounting system, we'll sync it directly in the FMP office. So everything within the job that you kind of built is now in FMP. And like the only thing you'll need to do then is assign your foreman. And this is where the accuracy comes into play, because you have them assigning, cost codes to the job, tracking quantities, material items, and then the accuracy that you bid against is now being tracked in FMP. And we see that within the reports. We've got our cost report and then our production reports. And then when it comes time for payroll, the accuracy is even more so there, because we're taking everything that's truly collected and then importing it in to the accounting system for payroll. And then those routines, as we mentioned before, we customize those and we make sure that the communication is intact. And just to expand on that earlier, we were talking about the employee payroll. We also have the ability to write those export routines for your employee or for your equipment level. So if you wanted to collect equipment information in Excel formats, import into the accounting system, we do that as well. Meter readings, things like that. Any quantities, so as far as your quantity data, material data, we can write routines for that to be imported into the accounting system as well. I just kind of wanted to touch on that. Just broad spectrum, that there's all the data that's contained within FMP Office. We can customize that into an import routine for the accounting system.
Very cool. Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's great how all three systems can kind of work together. So thank you for explaining that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, next one I've got up here. So what happens after implementation?
After implementation, so all of our clients have access to our 24-hour support line. So we handle any kind of support issues, questions. We do any kind of training, as much training as you would like. And we also include all the pre-program updates and enhancements that come out with the products. After implementation, we ensure that all of our solutions are working for you in full capacity. We do encourage all of our customers to contact us with any questions at all. If they have additional enhancement requests, things like that, anything that will help everybody else do their job better is what our goal is. So we're constantly updating our programs. If you currently have our systems, you get updates quite a bit, adding new stuff in there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I kind of just want to touch on, so with that, sometimes your accounting system may in fact have an update. And so we'll work with the user in that regard to update your sync code to make sure if your structure changed on the accounting system, if they had an update, like I said, we'll get that updated for you relatively quickly. And the same thing with an import routine. Say you have additional data that you need to include and you want to see things more thorough. You work with us, we'll work together, and it's kind of like a partnership type thing. And we want to ensure that you get the data that you need and it's successful. So at any point, this is included, as James was saying, 24/7, reach out to us, let us know what your needs are, and we'll get you squared away.
Awesome. Yeah, I know some customers that I've talked to have really emphasized the partnership, so I think that's really great too.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, well, it looks like that is all the questions that I've compiled for you guys. Let me see if our attendees have any questions. We do. Blow this up so I can read it. Okay, let's see. First one I've got, can you set up the system to automatically sync data?
Yes, we can. So what that looks like is just an old school batch file on a time schedule for Windows. And we'll set that communication in place and we can set it to do a time loop.
Very cool. All right, thank you, Josh. All right, the next one I've got. So how about union employees? They would be paid and reported to different unions within 1 week period. How would it be handled in the payroll?
Yeah, so we handle that with, we do have in FMP the ability to report multiple work classes, and we also set up those classes and rate tables specifically by job. So if you have a specific job and location, you will set up your rate table. And then as they're reporting the time, depending on what they're doing, certified payroll, prevailing wage jobs, they're just going to report the work classification or the task that they're doing at that time and then transmit in those hours. And the accounting system will handle doing the rate allocation after the payroll records have been imported.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Next one I've got, and sorry, I'm squinting, they're kind of small. Can I export directly from my estimating system into F&P without going through my accounting system?
Yeah, absolutely. Within F&P on import routine, as far as a project and cost code level, we do have some mandatory fields that we require as far as like a project ID, project name, and then cost code ID and name, plan, quantity, unit of measure, and pricing. Those things we kind of, mandate, if you will, but it doesn't need to be in a certain column structure on import. We just need to have that data there, and we can work together with you to clean up that data on import if needed. That's what the team's here for. We want to make sure that we help you get that inside F&P Office.
And also from the estimating system, it's only a couple of buttons to click as far as exporting a project from ProS.net into F&P Office. You just click a couple buttons, give it an ID, and then it's going to be an F&P for you. So that's a pretty simple process as well.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Looks like this is the last one I've got here. So does F&P have a mechanism to post mechanics time to each piece of equipment?
Very good question. Actually, we're working on that right now.
Okay.
Very soon.
Yeah. Long story short, soon.
we can currently do it now, but there's a level of detail that we're working on. Not only can a mechanic go in and choose a piece of equipment that they're working on, but we're going to add mechanisms in place to actually report what they're doing to that piece of equipment. So yes, you currently can now, but we're actually enhancing that to make it even better so that they can bring over more detail and make it easier to report that kind of stuff from mechanics. So we've determined that that was a really big need that our customers needed. So we got with our developers, got with the customer, figured out all the details, and then they're currently writing code to get all that implemented right now. Good question.
Awesome. Good to know. All right. Well, looks like that is all the attendee questions that I've got for you guys. Oops, we go here. But that's really all we've got, you guys. If you think of any other questions, feel free to contact us. I've got the contact page pulled up here. So you can submit a form. We've also got all of our contact information here. And if you want to just learn more about F&P, you're welcome to schedule a demo as well. But that's pretty much it. Be on the lookout for an email from me. I'll send you instructions on how to get your certificate for your continuing education credit. Also, if you joined us late or you just want to share this with anybody in your company, this will be posted to our YouTube page later today, and a link to our YouTube page will be in that email from me as well. But that's all we got for you guys. Thank you, Josh and James, for joining us, and thank you for joining as well. Y'all have a great rest of your week.